Welcome back. Today we're doing a deep dive into a story that's, well, it's more than a story, it's an obsession.
Oh, absolutely.
We're looking at the only unsolved air piracy case in the history of commercial aviation. It's a puzzle that's been stuck in our heads for, what, 50 years now?
Over 50 years. And the deeper you go, the stranger it gets.
Okay, so let's set the scene. It's Thanksgiving Eve, November 24th, 1971. We're at Portland International Airport.
And you have to remember, this was a totally different world. This is sort of the golden age of hijacking, if you can call it that.
Right.
There's no TSA, no metal detectors. You could literally walk onto a plane with anything, and nobody would even blink.
And that is pretty much what happened. A man walks up to the Northwest Orient Airlines counter. He's memorable because he's so unmemorable.
Just another guy in a suit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mid-40s, dark business suit, black tie, raincoat. He looks like any other businessman. He pays $20 cash for a one-way ticket to Seattle.
Name on the ticket. Dan Cooper.
And right there, that's the first thing everyone gets wrong.
Yeah, the D.B. Cooper thing was just a reporter's mistake in the early chaos. He called himself Dan.
We have to come back to that name because I think Dan Cooper is a huge clue. But first, our mission today is to, strip away the folk hero legend.
The T-shirts, the songs, the Loki cameo.
All of it. We need to look at the raw forensics, the particle physics, the aerodynamics, and the psychology of a guy who orders a bourbon while he's holding a bomb.
Because it's the forensics that turn this from just a story into, a math problem you can actually solve.
So let's reconstruct it. Flight 305 takes off. Cooper's in his seat. He lights a cigarette, orders a bourbon and soda. Very calm. Then he hands a note to the flight attendant, Flo Schaffner. And she ignores it.
Totally ignores it. She thinks this guy's just hitting on her, which tells you a lot about how he looked, right? He didn't seem like a threat.
Not at all. He had to lean in and whisper, "Miss, you'd better look at that note. I have a bomb."
And he proves it. He opens his briefcase. She sees it all, the red cylinders, the battery, wires.
It's real. But what's so strange is the dynamic. He's not agitated. He's not yelling. He's managing the situation.
Like a project manager, totally in control. Look at his demands. $200,000 in negotiable American currency. A field truck in Seattle and 4 parachutes.
Okay, the 4 parachutes, that demand it's brilliant.
It really is.
This is the detail that tells me he wasn't just some random desperate guy. If he asked for 1 or even 2 parachutes, what does the FBI do?
They give him a dummy, a chute that's sewn shut or has its lines cut. They had them ready to go.
But by asking for 4, he creates this impossible dilemma for them.
Exactly. They have to assume he might take a hostage with him, a flight attendant, maybe a pilot.
So they can't risk giving him a sabotage chute. They'd be sentencing an innocent person to death. It's the perfect insurance policy.
And it worked. They had to scramble and get him civilian sport chutes from a local skydiving school. But even then, there was a mix-up.
Oh, right, the dummy chute.
Yeah, one of the reserve chutes they gave him was actually a non-functional training model. It was sewn shut. And that's the one he noticed. He cut it up to use the cords to tie the money bag shut.
He spotted the defect. Incredible. So they land in Seattle, the passengers get off, the money comes on.
All $10,000 $20 bills, about 21 pounds.
They refuel. He keeps the flight crew and 1 attendant. And this is where the whole average Joe theory just falls apart for me. He gives the pilot these incredibly specific instructions.
He wants to fly towards Mexico City, but with the flaps at 15 degrees, landing gear down, and the cabin unpressurized below 10,000 feet.
He basically turned a 727 into a C-130, a cargo jump plane.
He had to know the aircraft. The 727 has that aft air stair, the staircase in the tail.
Yeah.
If the cabin is pressurized, you physically cannot open that door in flight. The pressure holds it shut. He knew he needed it unpressurized.
He also knew that flying with the gear and flaps down would slow the plane way down, making it a much more stable platform to jump from.
This wasn't a guess. This was an engineered plan.
So they take off. It's pitch black, it's raining, it's freezing. And somewhere between Seattle and Reno, a warning light goes on in the cockpit.
The aft air stair is open.
Let's just pause on those conditions. It's after 8 p.m. The wind chill at that altitude and speed is something like, what, minus 50? Minus 60?
Brutal, and it's totally dark over the thickest, most rugged forests in North America.
And our guy's wearing a business suit and loafers. Not exactly survival gear.
Then the crew feels this bump, an oscillation. That was the moment he jumped.
Gone. Into the storm with a bag of money and a parachute he can't even steer.
And for 9 years, nothing. Not a single trace. No body, no parachute, no money.
Until 1980. The Tennebar discovery. A little boy, Brian Ingram, is on a family vacation digging a fire pit on the bank of the Columbia River.
And he finds 3 bundles of cash just rotting in the sand.
$5,800. The serial numbers are a match.
But the location is the puzzle. It's upstream from where they thought he jumped.
This is where geologists have been fighting for decades. They looked at the diatoms on the bills.
Diatoms are basically microscopic algae. Different kinds grow in different seasons and in different types of water.
Right. So by looking at the diatoms stuck to the money, they tried to figure out when it hit the water.
And the answer was, well, maybe. It was inconclusive. Some think the money washed down the river years later. Others think he buried it there and never came back.
But why bury it and leave it? And why just a fraction of it? It doesn't make sense.
Well, the bills were still in bundles, held together by rotted rubber bands. That suggests they were protected somehow, maybe buried, not just floating loose.
Okay, let's get to the real smoking gun, the tie.
The J.C. Penney clip-on tie he left on his seat.
For decades, it's just evidence. But recently, a team of citizen scientists got their hands on it. They used an electron microscope to see what was trapped in the fibers.
And this is where the profile of our suspect completely changes. They found over 100,000 particles on this thing.
But the big one was titanium.
Not just any titanium, though. This is the detail that's just mind-blowing. It was pure, unalloyed titanium.
And you have to understand, in 1971, if you worked at Boeing, you were working with titanium alloys. It was mixed with other metals for strength.
Pure titanium was incredibly rare. It was used in very specific places, like chemical plants or high-tech metal fabrication facilities.
But they found something else with it. They found these little spiral chips of aluminum.
Swarf. It's the waste you get when you use a lathe or a drill press on metal.
Exactly. So you have pure titanium plus machine shop waste. You wouldn't find aluminum shavings in a chemical plant.
You'd find them in a fabrication facility. This specific combination suggests he worked somewhere that was building or prototyping things with pure titanium.
And because he was wearing a tie.
He's not the guy running the machine. That's a huge safety hazard. He's a manager, an engineer, someone who walks the floor in a tie, gets covered in this microscopic dust, and then heads to the airport.
This narrows the field so much. We're looking for a white-collar technical guy from the Pacific Northwest aerospace or metal industry.
Right. Which leads us to the rogues gallery of suspects.
Let's start with the big one. Richard McCoy, the copycat.
A lot of people love him for it. He pulled off a similar hijacking just 5 months later. He was a Green Beret, a skydiver. He had the skills.
The family swears it was him. It seems perfect, right? He did it once as Cooper, got away clean, then got arrogant and tried again.
But the psychology is all wrong. During his hijacking, McCoy was a nervous wreck. Sweating, forgetting his own plan. Cooper was ice cold.
And the physical description?
Totally different. McCoy had blue eyes and a lisp. The flight attendants from Flight 305 were shown his picture and said, absolutely not, that is not the man.
Okay, I'll give you that. So what about Sheridan Peterson, the Boeing insider?
Kitterson is a fascinating candidate. He worked at Boeing. He wrote the technical manuals for the 727. He knew that plane inside and out.
Plus, he was a smoke jumper. The guy parachuted into forest fires for fun. He knew how to handle a rough landing.
And there's that story about him mentioning the dummy reserve chute, a detail that was not public information. He fits the profile intellectually, a real risk taker. But he claimed he was in Nepal at the time. The FBI never found any hard evidence. The DNA from the tie didn't match him. He's a great on-paper suspect, but that's all.
Okay, let's go with the wildest one, Barbara Dayton.
Born Robert Dayton, a skilled pilot, a mechanic, and the first person to undergo gender reassignment surgery in Washington.
The motive is what gets me. She hated the FAA. They wouldn't let her fly commercially after her transition. She had a huge grudge against the whole system.
And she confessed. She told friends she did it, disguised as a man. Said she buried the money in a cistern.
Then she took it all back when she found out there was no statute of limitations on air piracy. But again, no physical evidence. It's just a story.
There's one more piece we need to fit in here, and it goes back to the name. Dan Cooper.
My favorite clue. To an American, that name means nothing, just a generic name.
But it wasn't. Dan Cooper was the main character in a Belgian comic book series, very popular in France and in Canada. He was a test pilot.
And in one issue from around that time, the cover shows Dan Cooper
parachuting from a plane.
And these comics weren't really sold in the U.S. They were in French.
Which points to someone with a connection to Canada or Europe. Maybe military service overseas.
It also fits with the phrase he used, negotiable American currency.
An American would just say, cash.
Hmm.
That phrasing sounds like someone who needs to distinguish it from, say, Canadian currency.
So all these pieces,
Yeah.
the titanium, the comic book, the flight plan, they paint a picture. So the big question, dead or alive, did he make it?
Well, the FBI's official stance, or at least the cold case review, is that he died on impact. The parachute wasn't steerable. He was jumping at night into a dense forest with no helmet. The odds are just astronomically bad.
I know, but where's the parachute? Nylon doesn't biodegrade. If he died, that chute should still be out there, tangled in a tree somewhere. 50 years of searching and nothing.
That is the biggest hole in the died on impact theory. A 28-foot canopy is hard to hide.
I think he survived the jump. I do. Maybe he died of exposure later, but I think he landed. The money at Tina Bar feels like a stash he couldn't get back to.
But if he lived, he never spent the money. Not a single one of those $20 bills ever showed up in circulation, and they were looking everywhere.
Unless the money was never the point, maybe the act was the point.
The perfect crime.
Exactly. And that's the thought I want to leave you with. We all picture this guy dying alone in the woods. But what if that's not what happened?
The Monday morning scenario?
Yes. Just imagine it's the Monday after Thanksgiving, the FBI is combing the forest, the whole country is obsessed with this mystery man's face.
And somewhere in the Pacific Northwest, a quiet engineer walks into a metal fabrication plant.
He sits down at his desk, nods at his coworkers, and just gets back to work. His old tie is gone, but he has a fresh one on.
And nobody ever knew. He's just the quiet guy from the office who happened to know a lot about airplanes.
That's the ghost we're chasing. A man who beat the system, changed aviation forever, and then just clocked back in.
An absolute legend.
Thanks for going down this rabbit hole with us. You never know what's hiding just under the surface. This has been Aklıma Takıldı.